Yeah, state requires locally elected school boards to receive like a legislative update every 2 years after the legislature meets. So we were here to give the Tyler ISD board a little update as to what's going on and what we anticipate happening in the future.
A little update, except it wasn't so little. You had a lot to talk about. It sounds like a lot of really important stuff. I want to start with the lawsuit that was filed against the TEA. If you could just explain that in layman's terms, basically what do parents or guardians of students in this district need to know about that, and how does it affect them?
All right, real quick, let me tell you what it's not about. It's not about accountability labels. It's not about being held accountable. What it is about the timing in which the Texas Education Agency shares with local school districts what the rules are, what they're going to measure, what are the standards. Typically, the Texas Education Agency doesn't share that information until after the school year. So the school year has already taken place, students have already taken their tests, they've already done the things that they've been asked to do, and then the state applies the rules to the game. And so the lawsuit is basically asking the state to follow the current law, which is provide the rules of the game, provide the rules of accountability before the school year begins, so parents, students, teachers, community members are aware of them before the school year begins.
Okay, so it's just a timing thing.
That's it. And that's where the state is violating law, is because the law requires them to do that.
Okay. Now, let's go ahead and move on to House Bill 900, which I know is the library book bill. And basically you said there's not much to it as of right now, and it hasn't passed yet, correct? Or it hasn't been signed into law yet, correct?
Yeah. House Bill 900 was passed by the Texas legislature, and it's been signed by the governor. However, there are some publishers of textbook and library book materials that have filed a lawsuit in the federal courts against the bill, the contents of the bill. So the bill right now, or the merits of the bill, are in the court system.
So those are in question, kind of in limbo right now.
They are, and they'll be heard. They'll be heard in the next month or so at the Fifth Circuit of Court of Appeals.
Okay. HB 1605. You, in your own words, you did call it very controversial. You said if vouchers wasn't on the floor right now, this would probably be the talk of the town. Can you explain why this might be important for parents, guardians, students, teachers to understand?
House Bill 1605 is a significant piece of legislation because it does take what many local school boards and superintendents believe to be their responsibilities and begins placing some of that at the state level, in this case the Texas Education Agency. So the reason I refer to it as controversial is because there is a difference of opinion as to who should have the most responsibility for educating students. Should it be the local school district, or should it be the state of Texas and a governmental agency? And so House Bill 1605 attempts to take some of that responsibility away from the local school boards. That's why I think it's controversial.
Okay. So what would you say the people who would be against it? What are the points that they would be making?
Well, one of the if you're concerned with the state maybe overreaching into local school districts about what they're teaching their children and how they're teaching it, I'd be concerned with the resources that your local school district may be using right now that reflects the values of your community. Perhaps the Texas Education Agency doesn't include those resources. So you could be in a situation where you want to teach certain things, or you want to, let me rephrase that, you want to cover certain aspects of a content, but the Texas Education Agency is not allowing you to because the content they're providing doesn't include it. That's where, as a local community member, as a parent, I would question, are the issues and are the things the state's providing consistent with the values and consistent with what we want to do in our local communities?
Okay, so yeah, it's basically what they would be saying is, we're people who live here, we understand this community, and the content that we're teaching our kids is something that they probably believe that they should have more control over. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and I believe, I want to be clear, there's a role for the state in this. There is definitely a role for the state. The state currently provides the knowledge and skills that are required. They assess our students. They hold us accountable. All that's in place. All that this piece of legislation and those who don't support it, we're saying is there needs to be more oversight. so that local communities have their voices heard in this as well, not just the state's voice.
Gotcha. Okay, and then real quick on the vouchers, if you could just restate the statement that you made about the Texas School Alliance and your position on it.
The Texas School Alliance, we do not support any piece of legislation that includes an education savings account or a voucher. They're the same thing. We don't support anything that includes that where we're sending taxpayer dollars to private schools with no accountability, no transparency, no knowledge of how those dollars are being spent, no knowledge of whether the children using those dollars are actually improving their performance. We don't support any bill that has that component into it.